Hello, hi, welcome. Tonight is a solo stream. I'm just going to be doing it solo for tonight. As much as I would like to have people with me when I play this game, I think it's tonight. I want to make it a break, give them some time off. So, yeah, I think get some time off, relax for a bit. You know, it's been a while since I actually did a solo stream, so I thought, well, I might as well see if I can attempt to do a solo stream for how long until I cave in eventually and join another chat. So, yeah, let's just do it. I don't want to do voices either, so I'm just gonna read this normally. Good morning to you, Mr. Naruto. Good morning, Professor. Ready for? I hope so. I should be, even I have nothing. Good morning, my dear fellows. Oh, Mr. Shlums, you're here. Why, naturally, a true gentleman stands shoulder to shoulder with his friends in battle at all times. I thank you. I appreciate it. I'll see you later then. Wow, just completely blindsided him. He just pops in and he just leaves. Now, Professor, we need you to remain calm in the courtroom today. Yes, do try your hardest now not to enter the witness stand uninvited again. Yes, I will. I realize it was a mistake, but my dear fellows, I must interject. Oh, you're still here, Mr. Shlums. What's up? Surely you overlooked some praise, have you not? To be cast in my direction? What? I don't follow. Must I spell it out? I, the great Herlock Sholmes, the greatest detective of worldwide acclamation, arose at some ungodly hour here in the morning to be here now. First thing in the morning. A miracle, you must agree. Well, if I must agree, then... As you know, my sleep is quite impregnable. Impregnable? That's... weird, but okay. Iris had to employ her full gamut of tactics. She pulled the covers off, shook me, poked both cheeks, punched me, and kicked me from the bed. Then she poured a boiling cup of her latest experimental blend on my face, and at last I was bestirred. Oh my, Iris has been busy. Iris doesn't have it in her to go that far. She's too nice. Ah, I sense the spirit of the fellow scientist, one who relishes in the infinite possibilities of blending tea. I'm the one worthy of praise here, not Iris. This is my victory. Sorry to cut in. Oh, Inspector Gregson, good morning. Gregson, my dear fellow, why the grim expression at this delightfully early hour? Oh, I don't know. Maybe because I've been confronted with a grimmer expression, eh? Dear me, are you going to take that insult lying down, Professor? What? What? I don't know! Oh, poor Professor. Anyway, here's the paperwork you've asked for. What paperwork? Ah, I took the liberty of requesting it yesterday. I have a feeling it may prove useful. You wouldn't believe the hoops I had to jump through to get this brought of the art of the archives. It's the professor's autopsy report. That mass murderers? Who killed 5 members of the aristocracy? He was found guilty in a close trial 10 years now. It's all done under the wraps. He was quickly executed soon after the trial. It's all in here. Oh, I kind of want to read that. I don't know what to say. Thank you, Inspector. Yes, much obliged, Gregson. Us lowly lot at the yard are just doing what we can. In the shadow of the great Detective Sholmes, of course. Oh, poor guy. Well then, Professor Harebrain, this is it. Today we're going to lay this all to rest at last. I wish you the best of luck, Professor. I suppose he'll be here today, will he? Drebber? Yes, we expect the prosecution to summon him as a witness. I'm still amazed that you've managed to find him in just one day. I really owe you both so much. Counsel and the defendant, blah blah blah, yeah. Wait, trial's about to resume. Oh, right, because this is... Okay, I'm trying to remember what's going on. This is it then, the final chapter. Funny, my heart's still racing a little. I've not felt this before, actually. This strange foreboding. As if something's going to happen in just this trial that I'm not ready for. But I can't let that distract me from the only thing that really matters. Finding the truth. Ooh, mysterious masked person is here. Yeah. Court is now in session. Resume the public hearing of Albert Harebrain here present who stands accused for murder. Are the counsel for the prosecution and defense ready to proceed? The prosecution is ready, my lord. The defense is ready, my lord. As promised, Lord Vazix has his apprentice with him. His apprentice with memory loss. If I may, Lord Van Zeeks. Yes, my lord. There appears to be someone standing at your side. Ah, yes, my apprentice and his assistant. The prosecution believes today's proceedings will see the complexity of this case rise considerably. Ooh, he has a sword. I therefore instructed my assistant to attend to ensure the smooth running of the trial. And the smooth running of liquid refreshments, by the look of it. The way he holds himself, the way he moves, it couldn't be anyone else. But he's still suffering from amnesia, so there's really nothing we can do at the moment. I know, but oh, this is so very hard. It would appear the prosecution has done a fine job responding to the demands of the court made yesterday. I understand you have successfully secured the engineer who disappeared from the scene on the day in question. Yes, my lord. I intend to call him as a witness shortly. Very good, very good. Now then, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, who have been chosen at random to represent the blah 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 blah. Are you ready and willing to proceed? Of course, my lord. I'm sure we'll understand the importance of doing our civic duty. I too don't despise deception and deceit. I find it so very wearing. Oh, I forgot these people. To take a man's life with a conjuring trick, it is against the magician's code, not to mention law. Any fake scientists should feel the wrath of God, if you ask me. I like corn. Yes, I like corn. Wasn't like this in my day. Wasn't like this at all. If all parties are ready to proceed, you may begin, Lord Van Zeeks. Before I do, my lord, there is a report I must read to the court. Okay, I will be right back for a second. Hello. Sorry about that. Anyway, we'll just continue on from here. Yesterday at the Great Exhibition Grounds, the evidence of primary importance in this case, the super high voltage instantaneous kinesis machine, or I'm gonna call it the big electrical thingy, which was installed in the experimentation stage, was deliberately destroyed in an explosion affected by an unknown person or persons. It was what? An explosion? This is an outrage. Yes, I heard this grave news yesterday. Scotland Yard submitted a report to my office in the evening. I read that the machine was blasted to smithers and the wreckage was reduced to ashes in the flames. I have here a photographic print of the scene taken at the wake of the explosion. It shows what little remains of the machine. Yes, a terrible business. He did it to destroy the evidence, did he? That and Notch Drebber? The court will take this print as evidence, counsel. Late yesterday afternoon, the protection afforded by the machine by the Special Dispensation Act for Scientific Equipment, the habda was revoked. However, before a thorough investigation could begin, the invention was obliterated from existence. As such, this will become a very different trial. Wait, why was it destroyed again? Oh! As it stands now, with no evidence on which to draw meaningful conclusions, the authenticity of the kinesis machine will remain forever in obscurity. Indeed, a most unfortunate state of affairs. However, one thing remains clear. The victim's death was the result of the actions of the accused. On that, we can be certain. For it was the accused himself who was operating the machine and who ultimately caused its loss of control. As Lord Van Seeks rightly says, this is a very different trial now. The accused accepts responsibility for his part in the events that transpired. He acknowledges that Mr. Asmund died as a result of the accident caused by his machine's malfunction. However, unbeknownst to the professor, he was being deliberately deceived by a pair of very clever fraudsters. Names, counsel, if you please. The engineer, Mr. Notch Drebber, and the victim himself, Mr. Odie Esmond. So, what exactly were those two men up to behind the defendant's back? The defense intends to expose that information, thus establishing the innocence of the defendant. Let's go with that. I can't. Big words tonight. Thank you, counsels. The positions of the prosecution and defense have been clearly stated. Lord Van Zeek, summon your first witness, please. At once, my lord. The prosecution calls the engineer, Mr. Knox Drebber, to the stand. Oh, this is the first time. Oh, no, I've met him before. Never mind. State your name and occupation for the court. Name, Knox Drebber. Occupation. Hard to pin down, I would say. See that black monocle? Yes, why do I feel as though I've seen it somewhere before? Oh, you too? I had exactly the same feeling myself. Your file indicates that you are currently being investigated in connection with another case. The theft of a waxwork model, is it? The most extraordinary sounding business. But that has no bearing on this trial, I assure you. Cleave it from your mind. You're familiar with the public experiment carried out at the Great Exhibition some days ago? The accused super high voltage that machine. Yes, you could say that. I am aware of it. There was a terrible accident, was there? Yeah, this assistant is very clever. It was you, Mr. Drebber, who constructed the vast machine used in the experiment. Or so our investigations indicate. Can you confirm your involvement? Yes, I constructed it, in precise accordance with the blueprints. But that's all. Then the court will be very interested to hear your thoughts about the machine, I'm sure. An amazing device, if you ask me. The pinnacle of modern science, making instantaneous kinesis a reality at last. What? Good gracious. Do you mean to say that the experiment was a bona fide? Is that your belief, sir? Yes, that is very much my belief. Such a waste that it blew it up. But we've already established that the machine was nothing more than a prop for an elaborate conjuring trick. You've established nothing of the sort. All that was shown during yesterday's proceedings is that the same outcome could have been produced by the means of stage trickery. The defense merely proposed the method and demonstrated its feasibility, nothing more. But... You've procrastinated long enough, I feel. Witness, you will now give your formal testimony about the machine that you constructed for the purpose of demonstrating at the Great Exhibition. Understood. This guy's literally a robot, I swear to God. I met the young professor approximately 1 year ago through Mr. Asman's introduction. He provided me with the blueprints and I constructed the machine to his precise specifications. It was no trick. If the whole show was a fraud, then it would have required a body double. Tell me, did the victim have a twin? All the spectators saw the birdcage appear above their heads and then crash headfirst into the crystal tower. A terrible accident, I grant you. Perhaps the science on which the machine was built was flawed somehow? Yeah, it's very, very flawed. A body double? That goes without saying, surely. To give the impression that something has moved when in reality it hasn't. It's a basic conjuring principle. The deception cannot be achieved without substituting the original with a fake at some point in the performance. But would I be right in saying you haven't managed to establish anything along those lines? Incidentally, the prosecution has already confirmed that Mr. Asman had no twin siblings. It's my understanding that this witness is well versed in conjuring artfulness. But such talents do not indicate that he was actually able to accomplish what he claims. Namely, the construction of what, by all accounts, must have been an extremely complex scientific machine. Whatever do you mean? Yesterday's proceedings brought the true nature of your past exploits to light, Mr. Drebber. Indeed it did, my lord. As a swindler who preys on innocent scientists to elicit government grant money through conjuring know-how. Yes, it's true that I possess considerable knowledge of stage magic. But crucially, my scientific knowledge is more than matches that of any academic in the field. Investigation at the witness's workshop attests to that claim, my lord. As evidence, the police found this Royal Society trophy for a young talent in science there. Yes, that's true. We spotted it there ourselves. If a hypothesis is sound, it can always be forged into a physical manifestation, with sufficient skill. Though I may have sold the secrets of some deceptive willies to sniveling, talentless scientists in the past. Would you therefore assert that the explosion of the machine was an unfortunate accident? Oh, of course, a deliberate act of murder carried out by the misuse of the science. Ooh, this guy is clever. Blah blah blah, cross-examine. The usual shtick. I should probably look at maybe that one piece of evidence I got. Well, not that. Condemned prisoner rejected for confidentiality. Oh, come on. Freaking privacy laws, I swear. Pseudonym the professor. Death by hanging confirmed at midnight, June 17th. Courtney Stevens. Don't we have a Courtney Stevens? I think we do. So you were already acquainted with Mr. Asman himself? Not really. By chance I'd seen his name mentioned in the papers, that's all. But I had no interest in his private affairs. If he was an unscrupulous investor, it was no concern of mine. As long as people pay their bills, I take up my tools and construct what they ask for. So why did Mr. Asman approach you in particular then? Who can say? I presume it's because my name is associated with excellence in engineering. Not to mention excellence in fraud. Hard to gauge, but the point is, all I did was construct the machine according to the blueprints I was given. In other words, the Kinesis machine was built on solid scientific principles. Yes, you might say that. Professor Harebrain certainly has a mind like no other. I mean, yeah. It's clear that you have both scientific knowledge and knowledge of conjuring magic. However, the more knowledge you have, the better equipped you are to handle whatever comes along. But your implication is that I furnished the machine with some trickery, I think. It's a possibility that we have to explore. Unfortunately, though, the machine has been blown to Kingdom Come. So there's really nothing left to explore, is there? It appears that the Kinesis machine was fitted with a timed explosive device of some kind. And there's nothing left of that device either. Not a single shred of evidence remaining, I hear. You must have planned this all from the outset. But in any case, it's abundantly clear that the experiment could have been a trick. Of course, that's it. Mr. Asman was the twin. Perhaps my learned friend wasn't listening earlier. Bitch, Mr. Asmund had no siblings. No, I heard you before, but the thread of hope hadn't quite left me. The demonstration could have been a trick if there was somebody who looked sufficiently like the victim. But Dr. Scythe absolutely ruled out that possibility. It is beyond question that the victim himself, Mr. Asmund, did move from the stage to the Crystal Tower. The fingerprints found at the scene attest to that fact. So it can't have been orchestrated by using someone who looked identical to Mr. Asmund then. What are you thinking, Mr. Naruto? Oh, no, nothing. Just that the idea of someone who looked identical to the victim is playing on my mind. It crashed head first, you say? According to the many witness reports from those there at the time, yes. Were you not there at the exhibition grounds on that day? Unlikely. I rarely leave my workshop. Yet another of your unique inventions was found at the scene. Well, it was the unveiling of a machine I labored for many months. I saw it clearly with my own eyes. The birdcage plummeting headfirst into the tower. What a surprise. I believe the victim's neck was broken from the headlong fall, wasn't it? How would you have come by that information? Even an infernal recluse like me reads the newspapers, you know. According to the reports, 2 injuries were apparent in the victim's body. Yes, he had been stabbed in the chest by a screwdriver believed to belong to the defendant, and he had a broken vertebrae as a result of a fall from a considerable height. Correct. My learned friend has been doing his research, it seems. Do we know which injury was the fatal one? Sadly not. Forensic science is not yet at a level where such things can be determined yet. What we do know is that the victim died by having sustained both injuries at some point during the experiment. And since he was found in the birdcage with his neck broken, it's obvious he fell from a considerable height. I suppose that's hard to deny. So you understood the science, did you? Not in the slightest. Oh, right. As I've said a number of times, I'm an engineer. My job is to manufacture according to the blueprints I'm given. I'd be inviting manifold problems if I foolishly allowed my brain to digest the ideas behind them. I could be accused of stealing those ideas, for example. But how is it possible to construct a machine without really understanding the principles it relies on? Well, you're practicing law without really understanding the principles it relies on, aren't you? A very good point. Stand up for yourself, Mr. Naruto. Ouch, that was a big burn right there. The point is, the experiment resulted in instantaneous kinesis taking place. As such, the science must be sound. Yes, and really, the experimental results are all that matters when it comes to proving a hypothesis. He's certainly very sure of himself. What do you think, Mr. Naruto? Well, now that the machine has been completely destroyed by yesterday's explosion, it's going to be impossible to argue its authenticity one way or another. But if we're unable to establish that it was a piece of stage trickery rather than a genuine science, we'll have no grounds of which to demonstrate Professor Harebrain's innocence. Both Mr. Asman and this man in the stand tricked the professor and used him. They took advantage of his nativity and his unbending belief in his work, and I won't let them get away with it. And seeing as the professor's an old friend of Lord Van Zeek's, what on earth must be he feeling towards Jubber? Yeah, you met him 1 year ago. He provided the blueprints and I constructed. It was no trick. The show's a fraud. Do you have a body double? Saw. Just gonna quickly read this, yeah. Okay. I don't know if I got anything from here. Oh, I did. Yeah, there was a crack here. I think that was all I grabbed from that. Yeah. Do you have any way of extending this? Oh, I guess I never really looked at this one, did I? This piece of glass is almost as thick as this wide. Yes, I've never seen anything like it. If you were to compare it to human, only Mr. Shelms has such thick skin. There's really no need for such a comparison. Anyway, it can only be from the crystal tower. Yes, I think so too. It's probably me. Okay. There's a little metal plaque here. Look. Fostering burgeoning talent for the future of scientific discovery. It seems rather ironic, doesn't it? But clearly Mr. Jubber really was a very talented scientist. Oh, no shit. Sherlock. Sorry, Herlock. It's been too long. I kind of need to rewind the tape and figure out what's going on. Oh, hold on. I just noticed that. This lock does look very strong, does it? There's definitely no way you could remove the mask yourself if it was put on you. What a terrible way to treat someone. Even a convicted criminal. I know, it's starting to make me livid actually. Mr. Naruto, please. I mean, just think about it. Imagine if you had an itch in your cheek all of a sudden. You'd be utterly helpless. Well, yes, that's true. but I'm not sure that warrants quite so much anger. Oh, right. Sorry. Uh, hmm. 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 Dude, I don't know. Well, let me read through this again. Hmm. Hmm. I hate when he has a good point like that. I hate when they have a proper solution like that. It sucks. Hmm. Uh, hmm. Oh, hold on. That's on the bottom. Then shouldn't he be damaged from the very top if it fell head first? We've examined the birdcage that crashed into the crystal tower ourselves. As you can see, the cage, which is a wooden construction, has sustained damage in one particular spot. Following the explosion, it fell some 30 feet into the glass of the crystal tower. That level of damage is to be expected, surely. I agree. The damage itself is entirely understandable. What doesn't make sense is the location of that damage. All the breakages in the wood are at the base of the birdcage, not at the top. What are you saying? That's the opposite of where they should be. That's right, my lord. The birdcage was at the scene of the birdcage that was at the scene was damaged at its base. So we have reports of the birdcage falling headlong into the crystal tower, yet the damage is at the bottom. The only way to reconcile these two facts is to accept that there were two birdcages in play that day, which were, at some point, switched. Switched during what wasn't a scientific experiment at all, but an elaborate piece of stage trickery. Good gracious, explain yourself, witness. Well, if we examine the facts, there's only one logical conclusion we can draw. The damage on the base of the birdcage clearly indicates that it crashed tail first into the tower. But multiple witness reports claim that it fell head first. The birdcage materialized in the sky next to the balloon and flying over stage, following a spontaneous explosion. What is this, a freaking TARDIS, man? At an altitude of some 60 feet above ground, which is approximately 18 meters. It then proceeded to fall some 30 feet into the crystal tower. In the ensuing deflagration? What? Deflagration? Big word. Witness reports amid such chaos are notoriously unreliable. But the victim's neck was broken. He plummeted 30 feet inside a heavy wooden cage. However, he fell. It would be unsurprisingly to find one or two of his vertebrae crushed. A riveting scientific analysis of the events from the prosecution there. Though, to be even more rigorous, you would have to say it was only one vertebra, actually. It wasn't quiet for long. I find it hard to see what's motivating Lord Van Zeeks. This witness is clearly a swindler, and one who deceived a personal friend of his. If you're going to establish this deception, do it right. Sorry? I feel like that's the undertone here. Ah, yes, there's one more point. The defense appears to have forgotten. It obviously wasn't a trick, as a certain truth very plainly demonstrates. What? It seems to me that the cross-examination had better continue until we resolve this matter. Mr. Trevor, you will amend your testimony with the details of this truth. Of course, we must treat the matter scientifically after all. Ugh, I nearly had him there. Oh, that's weird, wasn't it? The kinesis clearly took place because there's nowhere else 30 feet high for the birdcage to have fallen from. What do you mean? Well, before the demonstration began, the victim was alive on the stage in front of the audience. Yes, there were lots of witnesses who saw Mr. Assman on the experimentation stage, that's true. And the victim's neck broke as a result of an impact following a fall. Logically, therefore, the victim must have fallen from somewhere. The balloon that exploded was an altitude of 60 feet. The point of impact on the tower was 30 feet up. That difference of 30 feet is therefore the total distance the birdcage fell. And there's no other location from which the cage could have fallen that distance if it didn't drop out of the sky. Ergo, the victim himself must have been beamed from the stage into the sky above the crystal tower. A trenchant scientific analysis. Dear me, every time I hear it explained, it sounds increasingly plausible. Oh yes, it's all very well thought out. Certainly all the spectators on the day saw it. The birdcage plummeting 30 feet through the air, I mean. Irritatingly, yes. But, I mean, are we just going to deny the trap hole that's right there? And, oh, I don't know, the about 30 feet that was right there? This is a diagram of the experimentation stage and its surroundings. We know that somehow the birdcage appeared in midair before falling down into the crystal tower. A fall of about 30 feet, or 9 meters. However, if you examine the diagram carefully, you'll see that there is one other possible location from which the birdcage could have fallen. The same distance of 30 feet. No. Well, it appears the defense has a possible explanation put forward. Go ahead, counsel. Very well. I will. You will indicate the place to which you're referring to in the same diagram. I mean, it's pretty obvious. The place I'm referring to is here. But that's where the birdcage would have been to begin with. Which is exactly the point, my lord. Yes, the birdcage was in the machine on the stage. But what we must also consider is the height of the stage itself. Go on, counsel. It turns out that the experimentation station was built at a considerable height above ground level. If you look at the diagram, in fact, you see it's about the same height above ground as the balloon was above the crash site. Ooh, we might have got him there. Poof. When the experiment got underway, the machine and the birdcage were engulfed in steam. At that moment, the floor and the stage gave way, and if we assumed there to be a void underneath, this birdcage and the one seen by the audience would have fallen almost exactly the same distance. Once again, my lord, this all points to the fact that there was not one birdcage, but two. My learned friend has no evidence that the stage such a controversy in this big word. Someone is responsible for the criminal destruction of the kinesis machine itself, it's true. However, the stage still stands. And take a moment to look at the photographic print of the scene following yesterday's explosion. Good lord! The metal grill that formed the floor in the machine is undone! Yes, most likely blown up by the force of the explosion that destroyed the rest of the machine. The defense calls for the space below the stage to be investigated immediately. I mean, that seems pretty logical. Mr. Trevor. It was you who built the kinesis machine, which means that it was you who built the two bird cages that were used to carry out this deception. Whether Professor Harebrain's hypothesis is sound or not makes no difference, because it's the construction of this machine that matters. A machine designed to take Mr. Asmon's life. And lay the blame firmly at the professor's door. Something that could only have been carried out by you, Mr. Enoch. I was gonna say, are we already done? No, we're not. Of course we're not. God, dude's good with a sword, I swear. If my learned friend has reached the end of his wild assertions... Oh, it broke again. The prosecution would like to crush the defense's argument slowly, but surely. What? Your argument fails to hold water. On two counts. Two? Firstly, before and after the experiment, this witness went nowhere near the kinesis machine. Every relevant member of the staff from the exhibition has attested to that. And I believe members of Scotland Yard have also been on watch duty at every public experiment. In other words, Mr. Jebber had no opportunity to switch the alleged pair of bird cages. But I've already explained why he wouldn't have needed to. The nonsense in which with the crossbow, that doesn't bolster your case at all. The man who disappeared from the stage and the man who crashed into the tower are one and the same. The forensic investigation team's report is big word on that point. Ah! And the second flaw in your assertion is a distinct lack of motive. Why would this man have wanted to take the victim's life? He had no reason to do so. Motive? Do I have to think of everything myself? I have here a contract provided by the witness. What contract is this, Lord Van Zeeks? The contract to which Mr. Drebber entered the victim, Mr. Asman. It reads, Mr. Drebber is to receive 30% of all remunerations from government grants or other income. 30%? Certainly a very, very favorable contractual conditions. But there was one very important provision that bolted onto the clause. What provision? Mr. Drebber may only uphold his right on the condition that both contracting parties are alive. In other words, if either of us were to die, the contract would become null and void. So you see, I had nothing to gain from Mr. Asman's death. The diametric opposite, in fact. Need I say more? The witness had neither an opportunity nor reason to commit the alleged crime. In short, the possibility of Mr. Drebber having done as you suggest is nil. It seems that the defense's assertion was somewhat wide of the mark. Lord Van Zeeks, you will submit the contractual evidence. Yeah, the contract is evidence. Law. Oh, it's true. If Drebber had no opportunity to switch the birdcage onto the stage with the one in Crystal Tower, he couldn't have done it. In any case, I have no idea what his motives might have been. There's one aspect there of your argument that still holds true, however. There were 2 birdcages. The prosecution is unable to deny that. So I'm sure you're on the right lines, Mr. Naruto. I have no doubt that there are other aspects of your assertion that are undeniable truths. Well, it would seem that the defense has no rejoinder to offer. Well, I must say I'm a little surprised. I came here to testify about the machine I built, and instead my reputation is defiled. But the prosecution's counter has set the record straight, I think. It's impossible that I'm the culprit. At the beginning of this trial, we believed that there was only 1 birdcage, yet now we know there must have been 2. In other words, there was more to the demonstration than we realized at first. I think it's abundantly clear that the same applies to the culprit. Get to the point. The stage demonstration was constructed and set up in its entirety by you, Mr. Drebber. Therefore, it's inconceivable that you had no hand in the events that transpired. So if the circumstances mean it's impossible that you could have carried out the crime by yourself, it points to the fact that someone else was involved. Someone else? Counsel, are you suggesting? Yes, my lord. Mr. Drebber had an accomplice. An accomplice now? Well then, I presume you're prepared for what's to come? Now that you're accusing not only this witness, but someone else of the most serious of crimes. If these accusations turn out to be false, then make no mistake. The prosecution will demand an equally serious punishment for your slander. Well, counsel, do you intend to pursue this course and formally accuse another party of involvement in this matter? What do I do here? At the moment, this is a little more than a hunch on my part. I don't know for sure if Drebber had an accomplice, or if he really is the culprit here. One way or another, though, I have to make my position clear as a lawyer. So, what's my stance going to be? Did Drebber have an accomplice or not? The defense is ready to name Mr. Drebber's accomplice. Somehow, the 2 bird cages must have been switched. Everything points to that. Yet, according to the coroner's report, that's not a possibility. That inconsistency itself is a clue. Counsel? Yeah, my lord? You have received the stark warning already. If you're nevertheless determined, then I must now ask you to identify this alleged accomplice by name. So, your answer please. Blah 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 blah. Well. I mean, it seems pretty sus. The name of the person in question is... What's wrong, my Nipponese friend? Surely, fear doesn't blind your tongue now. It's a little late for that. Of course, I'm afraid. After all, naming her in this capacity is definitely going to make waves. A lot of waves. I could very well turn every single person in the courtroom against me. I'm sure I'll be alright, Mr. Arnoldo. Thank you, Mrs. Otto. The enemy always appears larger than life, but you'll appear exactly the same to the enemy. Alright then, here it goes. You've kept us waiting long enough. Your answer, counsel, now. The person who colluded with Mr. Jabber in order to carry out this wicked crime is Scotland Yard's coroner, Dr. Courtney Scythe. What in the blazes are you talking about? Dr. Scythe? The head of the forensic investigation team? And the coroner who conducted the autopsy on the victim? Ah! We know that there were 2 bird cages, so who could have carried out the switch to complete the illusion? The accident happened to be in front of a huge crowd of spectators, and the area was immediately sealed off. Then everyone, police officer included, were banished to make way for the forensic investigation team. When else could have the switch have occurred? It could only have been in that team's presence. Oh, I think you hit the nail on the coffin. It's essential that the court determines exactly what happened following the incident. The defense demands that Dr. Scythe be summoned to the witness stand at once to testify. Card. You got a nerve, lad. Standing up there, dragging the Yard's name through the mud. I didn't mean to. I know the woman very well. There's no better dead room worker out there. How dare you call her a criminal? My learned friend's imagination appears to be wilder than the East End at night. But the recklessness of your accusation aside, there's another grave problem with your argument. One which the prosecution demands you address at once. A grave problem? Oh my word. Who do you claim acted as the victim's doppelganger? What? Certainly, if the birdcage containing the body of the victim was exchanged for another, that cage must also have contained the body. And yet, no missing persons or accidental deaths of anyone even remotely resembling the victim have been reported. Which means there was no one, dead or alive, who could have fulfilled the role of a body double for Mr. Assman. That's true. My argument is that there were 2 bird cages, then there must have been 1 person each inside. But I don't know if I've got an answer to this yet, have I? What can I do to reveal how the body stunt double was achieved? Wait, hold on. Cause, okay, so there wasn't any second person there. Cause I can't think I can name any, I don't think I can name anyone as a body double, realistically, right? Oh yeah, he was part of a crime from the professor, and he's on the stat, and he has a conviction for stealing the wax body. So. Oh, ooh, smart. Very well. The defense will address my learned friend's concerns by presenting evidence that reveals the true nature of Mr. Assman's body double. Good gracious, evidence? I do hope this isn't filibustering, counsel. The court is expecting a name. If you think you have relevant evidence, present it now. The body double and the birdcage were hiding inside the balloon that was floating above the stage, which means that any witnesses will have only seen them from 60 feet away. So who's that appeared at some... basically who appeared from the balloon. Aha! The body double was obviously the wax. We know that the victim, Mr. Assman, was in the birdcage that was situated inside the kinesis machine on stage, and therefore he couldn't have been inside the second birdcage. Instead, that contained something else. What's been described as a body double, which is what fell from the sky and crashed into this crystal tower. Yes, counsel, according to your somewhat elaborate version of events. And that body double inside the second birdcage was, in fact... It's alright, Mr. Naruto. You're ready for this. Just steel yourself and come out with it. Thank you, Mrs. Zato. I needed that. As I was saying, the body double inside the second birdcage was as unbelievable as it may sound. That thing there!
Objection!
Oh, we actually got the entire thing. Open your eyes and look into mine, my Nipponese friend. Yes. Yes? Now tell me, what are you playing at? Stand firm now, Renosuke. This is the time to show your Japanese spirit. As the court will observe, this is a waxwork model. Oh shit, we're back to this again. A model of which, in fact, the famous Londoner, the professor.
Objection!
You started by indicting the leader of the forensic investigation team as an accomplice in this crime. And now you've moved to indicting waxworks? Yes, that's about the size of it. But why? Why this waxwork? It looks nothing like the victim. In fact, it could hardly resemble him less. What possible justification can you give? If you want to know why, ask Mr. Drebber. Oh, he's reacting. Do you not see that, people? What? Just days before the Professor Harrybreen performed his public demonstration, Mr. Drebber adopted this model for Madame Suspels. Did you say abducted? And 2 days after the incident at the Great Exhibition, he returned it to the museum. Then the timing. Is this true, Mr. Drebber? At first, I couldn't see why Mr. Drebber would have stolen the waxwork and given it back. But now the reason is clear. He took it so he could put it inside the second birdcage as a body double for Mr. Asman.
Objection!
Are you hearing this, ladies and gentlemen of the jury? Are you hearing the defense's astonishing proposal? That the witness fabricated this vast machine with the intention of deceiving some wretched scientist? That he did so in collusion with the country's finest coroner on a public stage in front of a vast audience? And that, to the effect of deception, he used the waxwork model that in no way resembles the victim. Are we really to believe this far-fetched tale? What do you decide?
Objection!
Nope, we're back to that. Wait! Yes, if you put it like that, of course it sounds implausible. My lord, I need to speak, if you please. Go ahead, Mr. Foreman. Myself and my colleagues have reached an agreement. Oh. Very good. In that case, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, you will state your leanings for the court to hear now.
Guilty. Guilty. Guilty.
Oh, he sounds Italian.
Guilty.
Rip. Looks like we're doing this again. So, as indicated by the foreman, the jury has reached the consensus. I knew this was going to happen. Fuck. But we'll get through this, Mr. Naruto, as we always do. And uncover some new truths along the way, I'm quite sure. Yes, I agree. I'm going to have to appeal to the jurors as usual, and see if I can persuade them to change their minds. The defense will now embark on a summonation examination. Are you and your fellows ready to proceed, Mr. Foreman? We are, my lord. Very well. In that case, I ask you to state clearly for all present here the grounds on which each of you has decided that the defendant is guilty of the crime in which he is charged. I know that woman for you! She never been an accomplice for anything. It's utter nonsense to think that those two would ever be convening with one another. Oh dear, this is most troubling. But surely the waxwork the man stole has nothing to do with the coroner. Is it? I had my own problems with members of the police. I do not trust them much. I've seen no rigorous proof that this waxwork was ever inside the birdcage. It's conjecture. I like corn. I like corn. I like corn. Somewhat unsurprisingly, it seems that the introduction of this waxwork model to the proceedings has polarized opinion. Given that its face is obscured and its build in no way resembles that of the victim. I can only applaud my learned friend's temerity at suggesting it as Mr. Asmund's body double. Yes, the applause is deafening. And yes, I know it seems extraordinary. But that's the point. That's why I have a strong feeling it's actually a greater clue than anyone yet realizes. What are you thinking, Mr. Naruto? I can't explain why at the moment, but I feel as though there's a specific reason why it was used. Why it had to be this model. Really? A reason why nothing else? A reason why nothing else would do, you mean? Yes, and I'm convinced. It's something far more significant than whether or not the model looked like the victim. Well, if that's the case, we must prevent the child from ending prematurely at all costs. Yes, agreed. I have to find a way out of this. Alright, do your thing. Yeah, my lord. The order of things seems to have changed over for some reason. I'm a copper, lad. It's a copper's discretion to bend the rules when needs must. What's wrong with that? Where do I start? I've been working at the yard for 40-odd years. That's even more than I thought. We've only had a metropolitan police service in town for 70 years, you know. Of course, times have changed. The public didn't trust coppers back then when I started. It was rough. We had to fight crime, and we had to fight to win the public's trust as well. And when we did, forensic science was in its infancy too, even more than it is now. And she spearheaded the revolution. Dr. Scythe, you mean? That's right. About 10 years ago now, it was when I was still a youngish Bobby on the beat. That's when she started making a name for herself as a top-class coroner. And look at her now, head of the forensic investigation team. And a woman, no less. Well, you won't hear me complain. It's what we all dreamt of back then, I tell you. Did you tell me without holding that gun in the air? We were all out to uphold justice, lad. Full of vim, we were. Full of vim. That's coming across loud and clear.
Hold it!
But we're only just starting to understand this case. I can't hear you. Reading paper. But what are you reading there, sir? The man behind those murders in Solar Pond Street that was caught in 2 days flat. That's real policing for you. That's really not relevant to this case, is it? You're wrong there. Because it was Dr. Scythe in charge of examining the bodies. It was evidence arising from her work that led to the arrest of the scoundrel responsible. Oh. That's right. Oh. That woman is at the forefront of this country's fight against crime. The idea that she's somehow involved in this murky business is a load of old tosh. I thought it was up to me to press the jurors, not the other way around.
Hold it!
Why would you assume that? Well, quite simply because the unsettling swindler has no relationship with the woman, does he? Oh, as it stands, we don't know of any connection. Oh gosh, but it would be delightfully romantic if they were somehow to have a mutual interest in the waxwork. Romantic? A woman of society such as myself views everything in terms of relationships, you know. Well, you learn something new every day, even if you don't want to. One might wonder about a possible relationship between the defendant and this coroner woman. Or perhaps between the defendant and the handsome prosecutor just over there. That's... Yeah, no, it's official in writing now. It's official. That's a thing. This woman may be more astute than I've been giving her credit for. If that's the woman's stance, then perhaps demonstrating some connection between the waxwork and Dr. Scythe would be enough. Yes, I agree. As soon as we have even a whiff of connection, she'll be the first to know.
Hold it!
What sort of problems? Let's just say we have run into each other on numerous occasions while I've been performing on the street. Right, I see. Obviously, artists such as myself can't appear on stage as we work in close proximity to our audiences. We perform our great magic in parks, or on street corners and the like. But the police use an excuse to make our lives difficult.
Excuse me.
Bullshit! Do you have something to say in response to that, Mr. Ottermole? Who are you calling a mass murderer? Ah, sorry, my mistake. I got confused because I heard you look like him. I don't look anything like that man. You want to be locked up, Sonny? Thanks, Mr. Shlomes. Perhaps we could move on. I was really wondering if you had something you wanted to add in response to what juror number 3 just said. And clearly, you do. Back in my day, back in the good old days. Stop reminiscing in the good old days, old man. Get with the times, old man. It wasn't like this. What was it like, sir? We worked our fingers to the bone to earn the public's trust, we did. And by Jove, we earned it. People respected us back then. Respected you? No one would call the coroner into question in them days. The coroner's report was the hallmark of an investigation done right. Especially when Dr. Courtney Stevens put her name to it. She was the best of the best, and the apple of the force's eye. Hold on a minute. What are you talking about? Who's Courtney Stevens? Ah, sorry. Got a bit carried away there. Stevens is Dr. Scythe's maiden name. Her maiden name? So that was before she was married. Oh! Oh, of course, yes. Silly me. It's Scythe now, isn't it? Stevens. I'm sure I've seen that name somewhere recently. Anyway, the point is, those were the great days of policing. Not like now. Sorry to interrupt, sir. But you do think you could change your statement to include that name? Well, yes. I don't see why not. Ah, light bulb.
Objection.
Those two statements clearly contradict each other. Good gracious, dude. What the fuck are you talking about? So, juror number 2. Oh gosh, me? What can I do for you? I presume you heard what juror number 6 said in the statement. It's brought to light that the maiden name of the coroner, Dr. Scythe, which in turn has revealed a connection that was apparent before. Well, naturally, as a woman of society, I find such connections and relationships irresistible. But oh golly, I'm afraid I fail to see what you mean. Dr. Scythe's maiden name is Stevens, and through that name, the coroner is very definitely linked to the waxwork of the killer. The defense has evidence to prove it. My goodness, evidence, you say? How utterly enthralling! Counsel, blah 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 blah. Yes, of course, my lord. Evidence.
Take that.
I have here a certain autopsy report from 10 years ago. A 10-year-old autopsy report? What relevance does this have? It is, of course, from the autopsy report of the person portrayed in the waxwork, the killer known as the Professor. Professors, but the man was a capital offender, so that's right. This is the certificate of death that was drawn up after the convict's execution. The identity of the killer was never made public, so the report gives few details. But what's important is the name of the coroner who wrote it. Courtney Stevens. Oh my, Courtney Stevens? Strike a light! It appears that the professor's autopsy was conducted by Dr. Scythe 10 years ago. And a few days ago, Mr. Drebber very deliberately stole the waxwork of the professor from Madame spells. A waxwork that doesn't in fact resemble the victim, Mr. Asman, at all. And do you suppose there's some unsavory relationship between those events? Excuse me. Absolutely, I'm sure of it. There's no doubt in my mind that the professor's case is at the heart of a link that we have yet to uncover between Dr. Courtney Scythe and Mr. Enoch Drebber. Hidden links, mysterious connections, secret relationships. This is all most extraordinary. We're surely obliged now to explore this further. Well, that's one. Quite right. We can't let this trial come to an end now. Not while there's this cloud of suspicion hanging over the yard's best coroner. It wasn't like this back in my day, but we're still here to uphold justice in the end. Alright, well, that's two. Alright, let's talk to number 4, because I haven't done him yet. But you claimed the whole instantaneous kinesis demonstration was a trick. That I did, but there's more than one way to pull a rabbit out of a hat, isn't there? Sorry. I grant you, given that this cage has appeared from amidst an explosion, there had been no need to use a real person. But if a waxwork had been used, the culprit could have at least had the decency to make it look like the victim. I'm not exactly sure how much criminals are governed by decency. The point is, if you're going to make a claim about that waxwork being inside the cage, you need to give us some evidence. Without that, it's just not science! I suppose we should expect nothing less from a logical argument from a fellow of the Royal Society. But that perhaps means his mind could be changed if he presents suitable evidence? Evidence that the Professor Waxwork was hiding inside the birdcage. Can I produce that? Yes, I do. Actually, I have something I'd like to see you to see, sir. Oh, I must warn you that I firmly believe that it's only wise to trust men in white coats. So give your jet black outfit. So, given your jet black outfit, I don't mind admitting to a sense of trepidation here. So, you don't trust anyone in black? Looking in the mirror must be very tiring. Also, I'm not wearing black. What the fuck? Where is that glass?
Take that!
What's this? A piece of glass? Oh, it's unusually thick for glass. Yes, it's a piece of broken glass that we found inside the jacket on the waxwork. As you say, it's not ordinary glass though. It's very thick and made for extra strength. Much like the special glass that was developed for construction of the Crystal Tower. The Crystal Tower. Holy smoke! Exactly! Holy shit! The centerpiece of the Great Exhibition, where the very incident we're talking about took place. On the day in question, the birdcage fell from above and smashed through a window of that special glass, from whence this small piece originated. Is that it? Precisely. So, what do you say? Now that that clear evidence in support of the assertion has been placed before you. Well, as I said, I only trust men in white coats as a rule. However, when the reasoning is sound, it's fair to say color shouldn't come into it. If light of what you've shown me, yes, I feel obliged to change my position on the matter. In that case, juror number 4, you will amend your test statement now, please. Alright, let's...
Hold it!
I've got to ask, why have you brought that corn into the courtroom with you? Colonel Cobb, he's grown in the back of the farm. Picked him on my way to town. It's a proper nibbler, he is. Yes, the nibbling seems to be taking quite a while. Maybe we could wait until after the trial? Oh, I don't like the sound of that. You need Connells at times like these. Whenever I summon something big to decide, the Colonels always point me in the right direction, see? You're talking about your cob of corn? Corn. Perhaps it's akin to fortune telling with flower petals like people do back home. So Professor Hairbrain's fate is to be decided by a co-op porn. Could you not at least wait until we've had more time to find the truth before deciding on the defense guild? Oh, I don't know about that. Your Tom's offer full already. Amazing. I know it seems a little far-fetched to think that the waxwork model of the professor was in that birdcage, but on the other hand, it explains a lot. If there really is a reason why that particular waxwork had to be used as Mr. Asmon's double, we must do everything we can to make the jurors understand it. The truth is, I'm sure that's the key to this, but it's the most puzzling part of it too. In that case, you should see what additional information you can glean whilst trying to change the jurors' minds. If you can read a book while it's eating a rice cracker, Mr. Naruto, I'm sure you can do this. Right, yes. That's an odd analogy, but sure. No. No. Seriously, lady?
Objection.
That's bullshit! Good gracious. What the hell? If you could put down your corn for a moment, juror number 5. Coin. Oh, you mean me. You pointed out that it's wrong to make an accusation without evidence, but the accusation that the waxwork model was inside the second birdcage in the day in question is not without supporting evidence, as the defense has demonstrated to the juror sitting beside you. Coin. Oh, is that right? Would it be fair to say you didn't follow the argument? I don't understand much besides Colonel Cobb, to be honest. Of course you don't. If I could interject here. Please do, sir. Now that this assertion of yours about the waxwork has been backed up by some solid evidence, it would be wrong of me as a man of science not to pursue the matter further. Well, that's half. Well, me too then. Sorry? If this brainy gentleman says it's right, then it must be it. See? I wouldn't dream of going against Colonel Cobb or anything, who's got stuff in between the ears. I'm using Mr. Cobb as a frickin' Jesus, lady. Success! If you can call it that. Thank you, Counsel. That will do. As a result of the summonation examination, the jury's overall leaning has changed. 2 jurors now call guilty against 4 who call not guilty. Accordingly, the court has failed to reach a consensus at this time. The trial must continue. We did it! Oh, well done, Mr. Naruto. Another wonderful victory. A waxwork of the despicable professor used as a body double for the victim in this quite extraordinary case. I must say, it's extremely hard to believe this assertion could possibly be true. However, it would appear that it does at least warrant further investigation. It's the waxwork of the professor that links Mr. Jebber and Dr. Scythe. And I'm convinced that there's a special significance to that link. I don't know what you're hoping to prove, lad. I really don't. The truth, sir, by using evidence and testimony. If the court is to delve deeper into the alleged involvement of the waxwork in this case, then the prosecution calls for the owner of the model to be summoned as a witness. The owner? Madame Suspels. I really thought that Lord Van Zieks would object to this whole line of inquiry. Very well, I concur. Make arrangements for Madame Suspels to appear at this as a witness with immediate effect. Listen carefully, my learned friend. Oh, yes? You should know that you're on the brink of opening Pandora's box. Really? The court shall now adjourn for 45 minutes. During that time, the prosecution will summon the new witness and prepare her for taking the stand. Right up to spells, yes. I shall see to it at once, my lord. Is it to be contended, or are we just gonna phase into the court? Oh, no, we're getting to be contended. Okay, there you go. Close enough. Oh, we're not done yet. Oh, right, we took a break. Okay, Anyway, that will do it for tonight. So thank you all for watching. I know it's a bit quiet without other people here, but I kind of needed a bit of space for a bit tonight. So anyway, thanks for watching. Tune in this Thursday for another stream. Good night.